Alright, and we are going to get started. We are going to go up to the grand finals, and I'm going to just introduce myself in just a little bit once we're actually in the game so that the in-game VOD comes out just sounding just as good as this VOD. But at any rate, I'm Vikramon. I'm going to co-cast at least the beginning of this grand finals series with my friend Miaris, who's not quite in the channel right now. I don't have him in Skype, but once we're actually up in the game, you'll be able to hear him as well. So, very excited. We're going to have R2R versus Lucid Lunatics. I keep getting their name wrong, but it's Lucid Lunatics. And LL, the team coming out of the winners bracket. So they have not dropped any games yet because, as you know, the winners bracket and the losers bracket up to these final few rounds were best of one. Then the winners bracket final would have been best of three. Unfortunately, Dystopia, the team that we just watched, was forced to concede. They didn't have enough people online, too many people not on for them to actually use enough stand-ins, and so they dropped down to the losers bracket final. Lucid Lunatics advanced to the winners bracket, to the grand final. And then in the losers bracket final, we had R2R up against Dystopia, and R2R was able to take it in 2 games. And now we see them moving on to face Lucid Lunatics, the team that beat them earlier on in the winners bracket rounds. Just a quick pause. Alright, and here we go. We are about to get started with the first game of the grand finals of the Reddit Playdate Open Tournament that was occurring this weekend. I'm Vikramon, my co-commentator is Miaris. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, I'm Maris, and I'll be co-casting this with Vikramon, mostly making him very mad, so look forward to that.
Do I get that mad? Hopefully I don't get too mad.
No.
We're jumping into the draft. It looks like we're going to have R2R on the Radiant and Lucid Lunatics on the Dire for this first game, and we will have the first pick actually going to R2R, so they choose to ban out Magnus just from the start, something that's been very effective this tournament, really just those huge team fight ability, going through Magic Immunity, just clump you all up and deal a ton of damage. LL, meanwhile, choosing to ban out the Bat Rider. Go ahead.
Vic, well, since this is going to be all boring, at least for the first 6 picks or so, is this best of 3 or
best of 5? Best of 5.
Oh wow!
If it goes long, you are under no obligation to stick it out because I know you ostensibly probably have work tomorrow.
So hold on, this is I presume what, like for tens of dollars for first prize? I suppose?
Tens of dollars, yes. I think it's more for the fun and for the exposure than I think for these teams. I don't think they're actually... I mean, these are amateurs. I don't think either of these teams are quitting their day jobs to actually play.
Yeah, but pros play for tens of dollars. That's the sad bit. Oh well.
That is the sad bit. Sorry, I just managed to inhale myself somehow. Excuse me. Very unprofessional. So R2R locking once again that Keeper of the Light. You see that they favor this hero very highly. I mean, this is an extremely good hero. But we've seen 151... play Keeper of the Light for now. I think this is going to be the 3rd or 4th game consecutively. And then I actually haven't seen Lucid Lunatics play yet in this tournament. I haven't happened to cast any of their games, but I do know that they beat R2R fairly handily earlier on in this tournament in the winners
First
bracket.
pick Quap.
Yeah, wow. So they're securing Quap, definitely I think almost the most popular mid hero right now. Sort of in the absence of the Templar Assassin's star is sort of dimmed, which makes Queen of Pain more unopposable, more strong in that mid lane. And they pick up the Shadow Demon as well. Very strong support and also strong against Phantom Lancer, who's a very good combo with Keeper of the Light. So it sort of insulates against the Phantom Lancer.
Right. Explain this to me. How, if you disrupt Phantom Lancer, the illusions that you make from Phantom Lancer can spawn illusions themselves, right?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right.
And are those illusions under your control or under
Under
PL's
your control, not under his control.
So in theory, you could get on a stack of PL illusions going on forever.
Yes, not just in theory. That actually happens sometimes. So there was this huge game a few weeks ago between LGD and DK in the G League, where DK had this insanely powerful Phantom Lancer, but LGD had the Shadow Demon, and he kept disrupting him, and those illusions were they would eventually pick off the Phantom Lancer because it would create just as large of an illusion army. So Phantom Lancer in a very late game is actually very, very, very strong against Phantom Lancer for that reason, Shadow Demon. He's actually, Morphling is also pretty good against Phantom Lancer because he has a very long duration PL illusion that can also generate other illusions. And high HP for that matter. Morphling's illusions are very, very beefy. So, sort of thinking about that, I think R2R choose not to go with the Phantom Lancer. You would expect them to take the third pick Phantom Lancer in the absence of this Shadow Demon, but now that he's here, they actually pick up the Gyrocopter, which is what we saw them using last night. Sort of stretch out the game, let that Gyrocopter get his farm. LL, meanwhile, they take the Lifestealer, and this is what I was hoping to see from Dystopia in the last series. I think Lifestealer is very, very strong against R2R's usual approach of clog it up, stay together, and use a huge teamfight AoE comp. So Lifestealer is very strong to that because, you know, he's able to live through that just by popping the Rage. He won't take any of that AoE damage, and he can sort of get in there and fight. Now, it'll be interesting to see if R2R try to counter this Lifestealer pick with future picks later in the draft, like maybe an Enigma or something else where they can actually disable through BKB or have some effect through BKB on the Lifestealer. Bane is also an option, although they already have a Rubik and a Coddle, so they would have to have one of those mid. They would have to have Rubik or Bane mid.
Bane mid is pretty strong. Like,
he's not that strong against Quap.
Ability is one of the most awful abilities to last hit against ever.
Yeah, but Quap can use spells to last hit, and she'll have root control over Bane, so she can bottle she can prone, she can use root control and spells to last hit. But yeah, certainly Bane. Bane is not a bad mid. Rubik is frankly not a bad mid. He used to be run mid extremely frequently when his Fade Bolt was a little stronger.
Well, extremely frequently, as in Dendi would play him mid.
Well, not just Dendi. I mean, the Chinese teams would run Rubik mid pretty commonly. Ferrari 430 on IG would play Rubik mid. He was a very, very good Rubik too. Alright, so we're going into the bans, and once again, R2R banning out this Wisp. They never banned it in the first ban phase, but if they can afford to ban it out, they do, because the Wisp really makes it... R2R, I think they're a little stronger in these longer games, so they really want to not get picked apart by a combo with the Wisp. And Wisp combos extremely well with Lifestealer as well, because he can hide out in either the Wisp or the hero that the Wisp is tethered to, and you have a 3-person gank rather than a 4-2. Notice that LL, interesting choice, they actually ban out the Phantom Lancer. So this TA Lone Druid, this is all fairly typical, especially the TA who trades evenly with the Queen of Pain in the middle. But the Phantom Lancer ban is very tactical because they realize that you can actually, even if you signal that Gyrocopter is your primary farmer, you can sometimes use Gyrocopter as a secondary hero and then you have another primary farmer. Like you could still take the Phantom Lancer, have him in your safe lane, and then use the Gyro as either a roaming killer into a farmer later, or even as a mid he's sometimes used as well. Not that great against Quap, but not completely horrendous either. R2R, meanwhile, they LL are still missing their second... Oh yeah, they do take the Enigma. So I thought that they might take something to disable through BKB. And Enigma is their choice. To disable through Magic.
If they picked Enigma to counter Lifestealer, the other team should pick Touring.
They should pick
to counter Enigma? Sorry, a little Touring joke for everyone here.
Wow. Wow, that's pretty good, actually. That took me a second, but that was...
Thank you.
That's pretty high-level joke there, Miharis. To crack the cipher. Yes, but they have taken away a lot of these strong support options for LL, so they don't have access to the Jakiro, the Leshrac, the Wisp, and so they'll have to figure out what they actually want to pair up with the Shadow Demon. They still have the choice of things like the Venomancer, for instance, that are fairly strong and good in concert with the Lifestealer because they give them additional unkite ability, essentially. But a lot of support options are taken out, and LL are sort of digging deep to figure out how they're actually, what they actually are going to do against this Enigma, what they're going to do against... To just make sure that their Lifestealer is able to get that mid-game dominance.
Let's see, what's coming next? Well, they need one more support. So they might pick a Jakiro got banned.
No, Jakiro got banned. They need a support. I think Venomancer is a decent option. They were definitely digging deep to figure out what they want to do. They do go with Disruptor.
Oh, Disruptor.
Pretty good as well. Before that Enigma gets BKB, Disruptor will be able to trivially easily mess up his ability to get in and cast that black hole.
Does Static Storm go through BKB?
No, it doesn't. So Static Storm will not silence targets that are magic immune, nor will it deal the damage. So actually, once Enigma does get that big, and they go with the Vipers. This is a surprise pickup for their last hero. I'm not that certain how strong of a pick this surprise Viper is. They'll definitely run him mid.
Viper's ultimate is really good against Lifestealer outside of Rage.
That's actually a good point. That's a very good point. And no, it's good inside of Rage too. I'm pretty sure it still does. It just doesn't do the damage, but I'm pretty sure that disable...
Are you sure?
Quasi...
I don't know,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Let's look it up. Let's find out. I'm like 65% certain that it does. But let's look it up, shall we? The internet is not being helpful in this regard. Yes, you don't do magic, but it does do the slow. So actually, now that I think about it, this is a pretty interesting pick because he can Viper Strike the Life Stealer every single time, and the Rage will not drop it, and he'll still be slowed 80% attack and 80% movement. If this Viper isn't picked off, if he's not ganked early, this could actually be a huge factor in the game because to the point of he might even go something like Aghanims. Oh, but Clinks is an interesting counter pick, so they're going to run this Clinks to sort of pick off some of these heroes all over the map to make sure that Keeper of the Light and Rubik are always living in fear because Keeper of the Light and Rubik will just drop so quickly to that Orchid Clinks. And even Viper, honestly, if Clinks gets the initiation on him and puts an Orchid, the Viper is surprisingly not that great in a straight-up one-on-one engagement if he's not able to cast his Viper Strike, if he's not able to cast his Poison Attack.
Well, he's got his armor, which is really good too. Like, really good tankability.
He has Corrosive Skin, and that will do something, but I think Clinks, if he manages to just get in on a Viper and get that Orchid, and if he gets ahead on farm, that's going to be very dangerous. They're going to have to make sure that this Viper mid, they are running their mid player random hero on the Viper, they'll have to make sure that's protected from roaming ganks from the Disruptor, Shadow Demon, Clinks type situation. So very interesting lineups for both teams. I do actually really like this late draft pivot that they did. The only person I'm not 100% convinced about is this Disruptor. I'm not sure. We'll have to see just how they're able to sort of leverage the Disruptor and use this unique skills to do well in this game. Because the Disruptor could turn out to not have a very dramatic influence on the game at all if Enigma gets the time in the BKB. The Clinks, on the other hand, I love this Clinks pick. I think this could cause huge conniptions for R2R simply because Keeper of the Light is so weak to that, to a gank that he's surprised by. If he sort of knows someone's coming, Keeper of the Light is quite good at defending, but if somebody jumps on him and pops that Orchid, Keeper of the Light will just melt. I can't hear you if you're saying anything, by the way. You might be forgetting to push the talk. Oh. Actually, yeah, it's stuck for me too. Oh, we have to disconnect. I'm going to disconnect and restart. It didn't actually start. Or maybe not. Well, let's try reconnecting. Alright, so we're hopefully going to take a look. It's having a little bit of technical issues, but hopefully it won't last. We'll hopefully be able to just get back in there. Okay. Looks like we're okay, actually. Try to get Miaris back in now. Still having some technical issues. We're going to resolve them as quickly as possible. Alright, we are going to get a remake. Just a second, we'll actually get the game back up, and hopefully that won't happen again, because that was really weird. I actually never seen an issue quite like that before. But we're going to hopefully get back into the game ASAP. We actually did finish our draft phase, and I think it's very, very interesting. The question of the game is going to be, will Lucid be able to leverage that Clinks to get kills, to keep those supports tamped down, to make sure that that Gyrocopter doesn't get too much farm, and especially to shut down that Viper. If that Viper is shut down in mid, if they lose that mid, they don't really have their strong counter to Lifestealer. They don't really have this dual farming threat, and they have a much less push-heavy lineup this time, R2R, than they've had in previous games. They really have nothing that is very, very effective at pushing. So, it is very interesting in terms of the mid is going to be a very consequential lane. So the Viper against the Queen of Pain. If Queen of Pain gets out of control, if they're able to sort of get that Queen of Pain, Clink's roaming destruction, that Lifestealer is going to be totally free to pick up whatever the heck he wants. Midas, Armlet, Mjolnir, and just to do way, way, way too much damage. Alright, so we're going to get a remake, and so I think that's the challenge for Lucid Legends, is make sure the Viper gets tamped down, doesn't get his levels in the middle. If he doesn't get high-level Viper Strike, I don't know, this might actually be a rare game where Aghanims is not such a bad pickup on Viper, because the 12-second cooldown Viper Strike might be exactly what they want him for, because it's so effective against Clinks, it's so effective against Lifestealer, that maybe they do want the ability to Viper Strike 2 people or 3 people in the course of a fight. So that's an unusual situation to find yourself in, but Viper actually could be very, very strong. But at any rate, that's the challenge for Lucid Legends. Keep that Viper from getting too many levels. Keep him from getting the farm to maybe Aghanim Scepter, but more likely just a standard Viper build with something like Manta style. And then get the farm on the Clinks and the Lifestealer. So 3 core heroes to farm. They need Lifestealer to get some farm. They need Queen of Pain to do well in mid, which she shouldn't have too much trouble doing. And they need Clinks to get farm wherever they choose to go home. They could go something like an aggressive trialing with the Lifestealer. I think that's almost certainly what they'll do. Aggressive trialing with the Lifestealer, solo safe lane Clinks, and middle Queen of Pain. Meanwhile, for R2R, the challenge is keep that Viper safe. Almost, you want to be roaming one or two of your supports over to make sure that Clink stays safe. That Viper stays safe and doesn't get picked off by Clinks, doesn't get picked off by Queen of Pain early. Hey, Miaris. You there? Hey, buddy. Oh, he's probably just not connected to the game yet.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
No, I'm here.
I had another idea while I was in between games, which is that Viper is actually really good against Clinks if he gets levels to get a good level of Viper Strike, because Clinks will make BKB, but Viper has a pseudo-disable that will go right through that BKB, and Clinks' damage will be much less impressive with low attack speed. Like, it takes away almost the entire benefit of Clinks' strafe. So what I was saying actually on stream is that this might be the extremely rare game where Aghanim's Viper might not be the worst route for them, because they already have a primary farmer in the form of this Gyrocopter, and Aghanim's reduces Viper's Viper Strike cooldown to 12 seconds, which means that he can Viper Strike both Clinks and Lifestealer in an engagement.
Vic, did you see this No Tidehunter game where they picked a Gyrocopter
support.
That played as support the entire game,
and then got Divine.
Then at the very end game, he surprise bought Divine Rapier and destroyed all of them.
They still lost, though. No, they lost the Rapier when a Bounty Hunter, and they got killed immediately.
Yeah, but that's because they were winning that game, and they stayed in way too long.
Right. We actually might have another issue with the hosted game. I don't know if I'm going to discuss it in Spectator. Never mind. Okay, wow. Somebody was fucking with me. Somebody messaged me saying, like,
for my
number one, and I was
fan.
like, what? Sorry, go ahead.
From Sweden, that is following this cast just for this reason, but...
Who is your friend from Sweden that is following this cast, Miras?
Stinkzorg?
Oh, okay. Isn't it Tinkzorg? I don't think Stink is the correct.
Yeah, it's Stinkzorg.
Right. It's not very nice to call somebody by a name that isn't even theirs. But anyway, I'm interested to see how this game goes. So we're probably going to see the safe lane tri-lane coming out from R2R, protecting the Gyrocopter with Keeper of the Light and Rubik. We've got the Viper mid, so eyes are going to be on this Viper, because the way that this Viper shakes out is going to be pretty relevant to how this actual game ends up going. Because actually, in the end, this is interesting, because they have this tri-lane and the Viper, they're going to run a solo lane Enigma. So this is something we rarely see these days, but he is a competent solo hero. Like, he can deny farm, like he can act as a pseudo lich by making sure that he converts every time.
So they're going to look for, well, first of all, notice where he placed the ward to block 2 camps.
Actually, the ward down here, this ward will only block this camp, whereas this ward will block this camp. So they actually don't have this camp blocked. They just have these 2 camps blocked. Now, if you know that Enigma is not going to jungle, which they more or less knew, unless they completely seeded the solo lane, then it's more important to block both creep camps that are pull camps than it is to block this camp, which is very, very difficult to actually pull to. We've got Rubik picking up this
Yeah, to pull to that camp, you need to do a triple pull, which is quite difficult.
Rubik picks up the haste. They're not actually going to try to use the haste to
chop off a lot of trees.
Check out where this Clinks is hanging out. He's pure, like, solo lane. It's interesting that they decided to go with the safe lane. I thought that they might go with a hard lane tri-lane, aggressive tri-lane against this Gyrocopter, and put the Clinks in a safe lane solo. Because the problem here is he's really going to have to hide out a lot, and he's not going to get a lot of farm, which means that his Orchid will be slower, which means that his ability to kill Keeper of the Light and Rubik will be lower.
Okay, 2 things. First of all, they probably didn't want to run an offensive tri-lane against the Keeper of the Light, which is understandable.
Right.
Second, the Clinks might try to get last hits once he gets the next level and he gets his first rank in fire arrows. Because
that's going to be really hard. Just the mana cost of that is going to be very substantial, though,
it's
because he's going to have
per arrow, dude.
No. I'm not talking about the arrows. I'm talking about the fact that he's going to have to consistently skeleton walk. I do want to note the counter warding is completely failing. This sentry ward is in range of this observer ward, but because the observer ward is hidden in trees, they can't find it. Gyrocopter beginning to do a little bit of harassment with this homing missile. This will hit Clinks unless he pops a skeleton walk. No, it does end up hitting him. So complete failure of the counter warding here. If they ever find this ward, they will be able to get it, but they might not just because it's hidden between these 2 trees. Very, very clever ward placement here. And this ward, they're just not in range of at all. Clinks, however, I'm worried about this Clinks. I'm worried about the development. I know that the aggressive tri-lane, if they had run one, would run into the problem of Keeper of the Light, but I think a bigger problem is this Clinks, to get a little bit of farm on this Clinks is pretty critical for them. And if they're not able to get a lot of farm on him, I think they're not going to have that ability to counter these supports getting levels and this Viper. I think in this case, they're going to really rely on Shadow Demon Disruptor rotations to actually get that Viper down. Let's take a look at how the farm's shaping up. Currently, Queen of Pain and Viper more or less tied. Queen of Pain actually a little bit ahead because she has these denies, so she's ahead on XP. And Lifestealer getting pretty much free farm over here. We actually see Enigma has rotated. He decided not to do the solo lane. I think he just started out by cutting out some of the creeps there, but he's actually moved to completely cede the solo lane to Lifestealer, and he's going to just jungle, which is going to run into the fact that they are missing a creep camp. They did actually counter ward. He successfully located the ward over here, so they do have more camps to work with than I thought. Meanwhile, a lot of pressure coming out on the top lane already, and again, this Lifestealer is getting levels, but this Clinks is getting levels, but he only has 2 last hits, which is unfortunate. Gyrocopter, meanwhile, more or less maintaining parity with Lifestealer, and in the middle we have Queen of Pain taking some of an advantage over Viper, which I would expect at low levels. Definitely, Queen of Pain is going to be a little bit stronger.
I wouldn't, because like Viper has got an excellent harass with her auto attack. I mean,
Viper has
Queen of Pain has...
right. I mean, Queen of Pain, but she can sit far enough back that Viper's unlikely to be able to walk all the way up without copping. Viper, before he gets any ranks of Corrosive Skin, like, if he comes up close enough to actually auto-attack harass her, she could just toss out a Scream of Pain or something, and a slow. It's pretty dangerous for him to run into a Quap who has Bottle Up. So I do expect her to have a little bit or lasted until he gets maybe one more rank of this Poison Attack or one more rank of this Nether Toxin. So meanwhile, farm going on at the bottom. Gyrocopter actually falling a little bit behind Lifestealer, so that's quite interesting. He's not able to get these couple last hits under the tower. He sort of failed a couple last hits there. And meanwhile, the completely unopposed tri-lane of LL on the top is starting to pressure this tower a little bit. So smart for them. Yep. Go ahead.
Speaking of, last hitting under the tower, so one of the few good things that Heroes of New Earth did, other than making separate servers where like Russians can play and they can't play on any other servers, is they made towers do fixed damage, so there's no RNG to it. So for example, it'll always take 4 hits to kill a catapult. You won't sometimes get lucky and be able to last hit a catapult.
Right, there's a I guess, yeah, there's a little less of tower damage. Actually, a lot of damage coming out on Viper. He's in quite a bit of trouble here. He just has the tangos. Queen of Pain decides not to pursue it under tower. She doesn't quite have the mana, but this is a dangerous situation for Viper, actually. She could jump in on him in a second and do quite a bit of... She actually messes up and takes some tower hits, so it's unfortunate. But yeah, random hero on this Viper, not doing that great in the middle. I mean, you wouldn't really expect... He has actually gotten a bit of a last hit advantage, but he's in a lot of, like, dying danger here. Queen of Pain can just jump in. She might get the first blood here. Oh, she does hit him, but I don't know if she knew that she hit him. He has his Viper Strike, but he's just being completely aggressively killed here. And almost simultaneous last hits on the towers. So Dire takes the top tier 1 top tower, and Radiant takes the tier 1 bottom tower. So both teams getting a tower down pretty quickly in these mostly unopposed tri-lanes. And I still think the fact that
there's no first blood for towers.
Right. That is true. There's mostly because towers can't bleed, is my understanding. I don't think they're physically capable of bleeding.
Well, nor is Clinks. He's all bones, but you can still get first blood.
That's a good point. That's a good point. We don't know that he doesn't have blood. Maybe he's got a blood sac somewhere in here.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Yeah, like what's
Look at him.
He's made mostly of fire and bone, but maybe somewhere beneath that fire lies a still beating heart.
He's got like less skin than Kate Moss when she was on drugs.
Well put, Miras, well put. And finally, these supports sort of backing up, sort of trying to pull this Lind a little back, which gives Clinks just that little bit of breathing room to actually get some gold up on him. I keep talking about it, but it is very, very important that this Clinks makes some contribution to this fight, that he gets his Orchid in a fairly timely fashion. Because Orchid is really going to be the key item for LL, especially this early.
He's level 5 on the tough lane without any help. I mean, he's not doing too bad.
I think his levels are great, but Clinks needs more than levels. Levels aren't enough for your Clinks to be developed.
Well, if you put someone on the bitch lane, you can't really complain if they don't do too well.
No, I agree. It's more the strategic decision in the first place to sort of put him there that I'm interested in. Note that Enigma is actually level 6, which is a critical level for that Enigma to hit. He is able to roam.
So look at the massive pulls that they're doing on the safe lane.
Oh yeah, Jesus. This is no Tidehunter style pulling over here. Definitely. And look at this enormous stack over here for Dire, actually. Wow.
Yeah.
He's actually gonna try to get some levels on Disruptor by consistently putting his Thunder, but it's only a level 1 Thunderstrike, so that's gonna take forever and a day. Wow, these stacks, wow. This is truly Swedish Dota, actually. Because No Tidehunter are also a primary Swedish team, and they do this as well. These are enormous jungle stacks. No, Eternal Envy, their captain, is Canadian. No other members are actually Canadian. He's the only non-Euro member of that team. That's how you know just how much of a tryhard Eternal Envy is, by the way. He plays on European hours with a European team.
Have you ever, like if you watch his stream, the guy's got, like, his walls are like what you'd expect to see in, like, a pedophile's thing. It's, like, full of anime all over.
Uh-oh, Gyrocopter in a bit of trouble here. They're teleporting over the Queen of Pain.
Sure
Gyrocopter might have massively overextended. He's going to cop the Queen of Pain ultimate right in the face. That's going to be first blood on that Gyrocopter. Massive overextension by DY Dragon Master there. That was unfortunate. And that's a first blood for the Clinks. That gets him all the way up to level 6 right there. Most of the way through level 6, actually. That's very consequential. Giving up that first blood is a pretty major deficit for R2R this early in the game. The Gyrocopter did manage to buy before he died, so he used most of his gold. He finishes off his magic wand. He's got boots, and he's got this Midas. So he's definitely looking to farm up big. But the Lifestealer has Midas as well, and he's got a 2-level advantage on the Gyrocopter also. So LL actually getting the better of this early game. They're only a little bit ahead if you look at golden XP, but the amount of sort of imputed gold that they have... Actually, they cleared out most of these stacked camps already, but they still have 1 stacked camp over here. But still, they've got this more fertile jungle in terms of getting them a little bit more farm.
More fertile jungle. Global warming doesn't affect the Dire jungle as much?
Well, even though it affects the Dire jungle, they still have a tremendous amount of biodiversity up in there. Actually, global warming would affect the Dire jungle less because it's far less green, right? Like, there's not... It can't get much worse in the Dire jungle, right? Ecologically speaking. Keeper the Light in a little bit of trouble here, copying a lot of damage.
Oh, they're diving? Nope, they pull back.
They do pull back because they were taking a lot of damage from the tower. Lifesteal are actually surprisingly
Surprised
low.
they didn't try to glimpse him.
Oh wow, they're going to bring the Viper in. Will they actually land the Viper strike? If they do, this could be a lot of trouble. Well, no, they pull up the Shadow Demon.
Viper pushed it out.
Forced to... I don't think going in would have actually helped. If he had gotten the Viper strike a little bit earlier, maybe. But a bit of damage copped on the middle tower as well at this point. So Queen of Pain and Viper, Queen of Pain actually getting a little bit ahead of Viper at this point, 39 hits to his 29. And Lifestealer quite a bit ahead of the Gyrocopter as well. So LL definitely seizing the early advantage just in terms of straight farm. But in a very long game, we have to say that I think R2R are somewhat favored if they manage to stretch this out for yet another 80-minute slugfest.
Yeah, because it's hard to beat in the super late game Gyrocopter.
Right, exactly. Not to mention, you know, the Enigma will film out. The Viper will actually get fairly threatening. I really do think, if this goes long enough, I think we might see Viper pick up an Aghanims, not as his first item, but maybe as his third item. Just for the 12-second Viper Strike cooldown. Because Clinks really can get...
they're looking like they want to push middle.
Yeah, they're grouping up a little bit. They've got the Enigma Eidolons, and why not, really? The players of LL are fairly scattered. They can at least pressure them and make them TP over here. What's their level situation on Viper? What's his farm like? He just has his level 1 boots. He actually doesn't have very much farm at all. He has his level 1 boots. He does have level 8, but, you know, not doing that tremendously well. And Queen of Pain coming over here with a haste rune. This is sort of why they pulled back. They saw
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
That is a weird build on Gyrocopter. He maxed out Flak Cannon at level 7. It's terrible.
No. That's really not unusual.
Flak Cannon's a great ability, but it's pointless to max it when your base damage is so low. You might as well get stats.
No, it's still better than stats if you're trying to farm the jungle, for instance. There's no way that stats gives you more damage than hitting every target with your Flak Cannon. The really other option for Gyrocopter is you keep the Flak Cannon at like 2 and you level Rocket Barrage early for that additional hero damage, but Gyrocopter is playing the super safe like Midas first gyro, so he definitely doesn't really want to do that. I do have to note that this Clinks is starting to become threatening. He actually almost has as much farm as Viper now, so he won't get his Orchid that early. In fact, usually on Clinks he will forego the tier 2 boots. You can see these actually picked up his tier 2 boots for a little more escapability, a little more attack speed before going the Orchid. Usually Clinkses will go Orchid before they get their tier 2 boots, or even sometimes I've seen it before tier 1 boots, which is hilarious to me, but it's fine.
Also interesting, like Clinks took 2 points in Strafe and only 1 point in Skeleton Walk. By interesting, I mean bad, but...
I do want to note that I really like this dual jungling, that they're getting levels. I suspect these supports are going to start eclipsing the supports of the Radiant just in terms of farm, because Keeper the Light is great at farming the jungle, but actually the way that they're stacking and farming the jungle with Shadow Demon and Disruptor is also very inventive. They're using the Shadow Poison to sort of get a bunch of stacks up on these big stacked jungle camps and use that to actually get the levels and farm on their supports. So really good utilization of the jungle in that respect by Lucid Lunatics. This is weird. There's a... okay, she will actually get the ward. I was like, why is Queen of Pain not getting this ward that's right here when they have a counter ward right next to it? So that takes away a little bit of the vision of R2R that was up on that high ground. They did pick off the tower in the end, so 2 towers down for them. Only 1 tower
Pop
down
now has an Invis rune and alt up. Is she going to try to do something with it?
I think almost certainly they may try to make a move. R2R really has no... They did have vision of her picking up the ultimate, the invisibility rune, so they know she's invisible. But I don't know what they can do about it. Oh, that's a big rune placement. That's a big rune placement. Good work by Big Sticks there on the Rubik. Like, that was great Spider Sense. He actually put it right on top of Queen of Pain. Of course, she saw, because you have a little animation when you place a ward, but she knows there's a sentry ward there. I think they've just pinged it out. Gyrocopter still farming the jungle. These 2 teams, if you combine them, would be so good because Gyrocopter would farm so quickly. Imagine if the jungle for Radiant was as stacked as the jungle on Dire is. Check out this jungle. Check out over here near the top ward for Dire. Miaris, do you see this Ogre Mauler that's just permanently on a treadmill of pain here? He's got like a tree going through his body. There's no way that they can stack this camp anymore than it's already been stacked, because the creep is actually stuck. But seriously, if Gyrocopter were farming the Dire jungle, can you just imagine how much farm he would have by now? Lifestealer has a much slower time. He can use his ultimate.
Ancients either.
Yeah. The Dire Ancients are stacked,
get,
but
like,
the Radiant Ancients are 2 stacked, so they're not. They are stacked a little bit, but both teams sort of stacking a little bit of the Ancients and a lot of the jungle. You can see they're pinging it out. Lucid Legends are pinging out the stacked jungle camps so that Lifestealer knows to go over them. Lifestealer can use his ultimate to clear out quite a few of those. And let's see if that's what effect does that actually have.
He can, but there's mud golems.
Yeah, I mean the mud golems will beat him down, but he will kill at least a few creeps if he goes into the what's the highest HP thing in this stack? Unfortunately, there's no Ursa in this stack, so it's actually not. He won't be able to.
It doesn't. Well, Ursas can't spawn there, and I don't think the kind of creep that you infest affects the amount of damage that you do.
That's completely wrong. The amount of oh no, you're right. The damage. Yeah, you're right. The healing is governed by the HP of the creep, but the damage isn't. You're right. You're right. This Lysair is actually body blocked. They need to get over here. Dude, do not mess with Creep Texas.
I'm half expecting now the guy wearing the Wookiee suit with the whole like vote Ron Paul thing.
Oh wow, they might get a kill on Gyrocopter again. Clink's chasing him down, but they do actually manage to deflect them here. Enigma's going to go for the big black hole. Will he actually land it? They're just Maleficing Clink's right now. Clink's is probably going to be able to get away. They don't have any detection for him. They waited too long for the black hole. Actually, Sentry Ward comes out, but no, they don't catch him. I think
late.
Oh, he didn't have the mana, but he needed to just Soul Ring and pop the black hole, in my opinion. That's a big missed opportunity for R2R there, not being able to pick off that Clink's. That would have been. He's getting there. He's about halfway to his Orchid Malevolence. If they had managed to kill him, that would have been crucial for them because he has barely any reliable gold. But
also, Vic, thank you very much for saying Orchid Malevolence and not Orchid the Malevolence. Every time,
yes, Orchid the Malevolence.
That.
I'll make sure to say Orchid the Orchid the Malevolence. That's how you, if you find it in the dictionary, it's Orchid, comma the Malevolence. That's very like fantasy RPG, by the way. That's if Dota were more of an RPG, they would unquestionably have it as Orchid, comma the Malevolence, because that's like super RPG-ish naming convention. People think it makes it sound more epic if you have more articles in it. So big push coming up, but this Queen of Pain could. Does she have her ultimate? She only doesn't have it for 60 seconds, so no ultimate going to come out on R2R, and I think they know that, so they're taking the opportunity to push down this tier 2 tower. They probably will get this tower. They actually have to peel back, and that's an unfortunate timing to peel back because this is deniable now. Oh, the Viper Strike goes out on the Queen of Pain. That's an interesting choice. Oh my god, huge Disruptor Silence. This is going to tear apart the team of R2R. And LL turning this around, they do huge damage to almost all the heroes. Good blind from that Keeper of the Light, but this Enigma forced to go back too. Did his Black Hole actually do anything in that fight? They do manage to get a kill on the Clinks for the Keeper of the Light. Yeah, good Illuminate there, but a very, very bad fight for R2R. What? Who actually killed? How did Disruptor die? Oh, the Enigma Eidolons are in there, and they are getting pretty hype. Look at how hyped these Eidolons are. He should have actually killed the tower with them, but that's fine.
Speaking of fantasy tropes, have you seen how tasteless the banner for LL is?
Yeah, I did, but I chose not to comment on it, and I never will comment on it. Keeper of the Light, good jukes, manages to avoid that Lifestealer, and he gets away, so that's very strong. But the Lifestealer still no deaths. He's been armletting on cooldown. He has his he's been Midasing on cooldown. He has his armlet, and he's well on the way to
on cooldown, like toggles it on and off.
Yes, that's the best way to do it. Well, you did see that TL. You and I were watching that TL game where Korok actually used the exploit to heal. They fixed it later, but at any rate, Lifestealer most likely moving towards. Do you think he's making a Mjolnir or a Desolator? I think probably a Mjolnir.
I don't know.
It's tough to say because Desolator is very good with
Dota 2 clan, just so we can fly like a Hawk-sized flag or something.
Pass. Gyrocopter actually, this is interesting. Why does he have a naked Helm of Iron Will and a naked Ogre Club? I guess he just wanted max defense and he's going to turn this into a Helm of the Dom and a BKB. So those would be critical items.
He's going Helm of the Dom just purely for stacking, dude. It's obvious.
Well, actually Helm of the Dom is pretty good with Flat Cannon too. You get a lot of lifesteal off of that. But let's talk about how big that Disruptor play was, though, right? Twilight's there, landing the Static Storm on, I think, 4 or 5 heroes of R2R there. I think he nullified the Black Hole with it, actually. So, huge play, and the fact that they did manage to pick off Clinks, but he's well on the way to his Orchid, the Malevolence, and that'll make him even more threatening. Clinks is really in full bloom here, and the Lifestealer is out-farming the Gyrocopter substantially, at least so far. Gyrocopter is actually barely out-farming Queen of Pain. They're sort of number 2. She is going towards her Scythe of Ice here with this Ultimate Orb. The other option, of course, is Scotty, but I suspect not.
Scotty is not a terrible super late game item, but like super late game.
It really depends on what the opposing team is, actually. We watched the game, I think it was earlier today, where Queen of Pain went Aghanims and ended up... Oh, wow. Huge kill on Gyrocopter here. Amazing play. Putting up this kinetic field again, having the Queen of Pain jump in and the Lifestealer jump out of the Queen of Pain.
Vic, this is actually an interesting problem, but you're the economist here. So you know how it's optimal to use the Hand of Midas on a high-level jungle creep because it's a multiplier for the experience.
Yes, right. 2.5 extra.
But there's an opportunity cost to searching for it. So
Yes.
this reminds me of search models.
Radiant's top tower.
Right.
This would be interesting, like doing a search models treatment. You know those things about the optimal amount of time to spend looking for a job.
Yes, right. Which are hilarious studies, by the way, since well, whatever, it's fine. Yes, I know.
No,
what
they're
you're
not
talking
empirical. They're just purely
Right.
theoretical constructs.
Right.
A guy
Right.
won a Nobel Prize for it too, I think.
about. Did he? This year?
Yeah.
Also,
No, it's like
excuse
old
you.
stuff.
Don't call it the Nobel Prize. How dare you?
Oh, the Nobel Prize for economics is different from.
It's not a Nobel Prize. It's because economics isn't a real science. The Nobel Prize for economics is not a Nobel Prize. It's the first of all, it's the Bank of Sweden Economics Prize in memory of Alfred J. Nobel. And the actual Nobel family and the Nobel Committee strongly dislike the fact that the Bank of Sweden essentially free rode on the name of Nobel without their permission to sort of promote their prize. They think that A encodes politics in a way that the Nobel Prize doesn't, which is hilarious, of course, because the Nobel Peace Prize
Come on,
is
like, the Nobel Prize for Obama?
the Nobel Obama
That was
Prize,
just-
another recently added category of the Nobel Obama Prize. I actually think that the Obama one was even less egregious than the EU one, but they were both fairly egregious.
No, the most egregious one by far was Kissinger.
Well, yes,
like
yes,
that
yes, yes,
one
yes.
was
Right.
Even worse
In
than
recent- in
like,
recent memory.
Kissinger was the most ludicrous one. Then
Right.
like Arafat was the second most ludicrous.
Tolstoy
Tolstoy never won one.
Right.
Joyce didn't win one.
Well, we're not. There is no reason why James Joyce should have won the Nobel Peace Prize. Let's.
No, I mean literature prizes.
I know. Well, you were mixing metaphors.
There
a little
was
bit there. You started
actually
talking
an
about the
essay
Peace Prize,
on
and then you're like,
why,
"Oh my God, Tolstoy did not win the Nobel Peace Prize, and he wrote a book that was freaking called War and Peace." Excuse me.
Von Clausewitz on War and Peace. Commentaries on.
All right, let's hop back into this game. So, LL definitely, I think, seizing a substantial advantage here. They have the Orchid Malevolence finished on Clinks, so he's going to become very scary to sort of deal with on your Rubik's, on your Keeper of the Lights of the world. They may have to think towards buying themselves some Ghost Scepters soon. Meanwhile, this Lifestealer is becoming incredibly strong. He's got his Desolator completely finished. It's going to be delivered to him shortly, and that will increase the damage of that Clinks dramatically as well. In addition to, the Queen of Pain will do more damage also. She is not going for the Scotty, by the way. She is going for the much safer option of the Scythe of Vice. The Scotty would be a little interesting just because with the Desolator, she would do quite a bit of damage, but I think Scythe of Vice is going to be even stronger because really this Viper is nowhere near his BKB. He's made his they really like going this early mechanism on their mid hero, so they've done it again. They did it with the Death Prophet. They've done it again with the Viper. But this means that the Viper isn't going to hit that BKB timing anytime soon. Viper really doesn't even want BKB for his first item because he really wants something like a Manta style. Or in this game, I'm going to keep promoting the Aghanims approach until he does it or doesn't do it.
Okay, so just a question. This I don't get because Gyro went first item. Well, he got a Helm of the Iron Will, which I think makes sense if you're gonna go for a Dom.
Mm-hmm.
But then he started building into a BKB,
That's what I was talking about,
which
yeah.
is a bit schizophrenic.
Right, that's exactly what I was trying to reference earlier. He went the Helm of the Iron Will and then the Ogre Club. I wonder if he thought that maybe the adding the Mask of Death on wouldn't actually give him enough survivability, so he was just going to start building the Ogre Club, then finish BKB, and then finish
Oh,
the
he's gonna
combo
get
with the Dom.
Orchided.
Oh yeah, Orchid is actually... Oh, Clinks is sitting right there. Meanwhile, it'll actually pick up a Roshan as well. And a lot of damage going on in this Gyrocopter. I don't think he can live through this. Even the Orchid... Oh, the Orchid alone wasn't enough to quite kill him, but he's low, and this Clinks is still charging him. Excellent juking by the Gyrocopter.
Oh, mad jukes!
Mm-hmm. Really, really big jukes there. The flip side is, during that time, they completely lose an uncontested Roshan in the form of LL. They pick up the Aegis of the Immortal here, and that's going to be even more threatening on this Lifestealer, who has no deaths, 153 last hits. He's well on the way to his next item after Desolator, and this is going to become extremely scary to deal with. Let's take a look at what this Viper's doing. Still just sitting with this mechanism he doesn't really have for anything else. Enigma, meanwhile...
Wow, he got pulled like 2 meters.
Yeah. That summon didn't go very well. Let's note that the Enigma is actually almost at his BKB in addition to his Blink, so that's a major bright spot for them. Having BKB and Blink, LL has nothing to go through BKB. Eventually, I actually suspect someone like the Lifestealer, who's as rich as he is, will build the Abyssal Blade to just break through that Enigma ultimate. But until then, Enigma's going to be a very, very powerful force in these team fights. Let's take a look. What do you think the gold is like? Probably about 6k in favor of LL. Yeah, 6k. And about 10k experience, so quite a big advantage for LL actually at this stage. They're up a couple kills. They have a little more map control. They have these towers down here, although there's a lot of towers down on the other side as well. Clink's meanwhile thinking, who am I going to go on? Who will I kill next? He's sitting right there next to Viper and Keeper of the Light, but I don't think he can actually pick both of them off. And Viper, meanwhile, just farming up that next item. Again, they have this early mechanism. I don't know what the mechanism status is for Gyrocopter. Again, just being very, very... getting himself into some unsafe situations. They're protecting the Viper's farm right now, but I think they almost need to protect the Gyrocopter more. He's already died, what, 3 times? 2 times, but still. The other note is that how are they doing for their mechanism? Actually, Disruptor is done with his, so even building this mechanism early on Viper didn't actually get them any extra time when they had a mechanism and the other team didn't. So, very good play. And you know what that comes down to is the fact that they did farm the jungle with the Disruptor and the Shadow Demon. So that gave them the gold necessary to get drums on Shadow Demon and mechanism on Disruptor. And that's quite consequential, honestly. Those are 2 big teamfight items that otherwise they would be struggling to pick up faster than this Viper is going to. How you doing, Miara? So
we'll see, because they really want to, well, not end the game soon, but...
Talking about LL?
They don't want to push their luck, kind of.
Well, right now, LL are farming much better. This Lifestealer is getting bigger at a much, much, much faster rate than the Gyrocopter. And the Gyrocopter doesn't have any safe place to farm right now, because LL have this map control, they have much better vision, and they're farming both jungles, basically. So there's not a lot of room for the Gyrocopter to actually get big, and that's substantial. Will they actually be able to kill this Clinks? They don't have the detection for him, so I don't think they will. Well, actually, they know where he is because of the homing missile, so if they get the detection out, they might be able to do something. No, they decide not to. I think they should have gone for the Clinks, but there's so much pressure coming out from LL in this bottom lane that they all the time they spend dithering with the Clinks, they actually are going to try to shoot him, so a lot of damage goes out on him. Do they actually have the detection? They do put down a sentry, but do they have the damage? They do have the damage. Clinks will go down, but in response, LL is pushing the tier 3.
Asking to feed there, Jesus.
I think he was just buying time. He wanted to waste as much time as possible. They're forced to use this fortification to protect the tier 3. LL are going to turn around, but they got a tier 2 that gives them even more map control. Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to justify it any way I can. Check out this Disruptor, like, always making smart moves with this, putting the kinetic field around the hero that was TPing out, just to prevent people from walking up. That actually is even better because the way that it was positioned, the hero was on the high ground TPing out, and they didn't have vision of the high ground, R2R, so they couldn't walk anybody up to the high ground to even see the hero that they needed to stun out of his TP. That's pretty good play right there. These supports are really just doing a lot of work for LL, in my opinion. The jungle stacking, the jungle farming, and the use of these Disruptor abilities especially. You know, we were sort of, or maybe it was just me, but I was sort of questioning the utility of Disruptor in this game, but he's almost been really, really important. Both in the one big team fight that we had, he completely turned it around, and just in general, he's just been a huge player in this game.
Yeah, this Disruptor hasn't had much of an impact, though. I mean, I haven't seen him do much of... Well, there haven't really been many fights. So
yeah, exactly. There's only been one fight, and in that one big team fight, Disruptor won it single-handedly. He got that kinetic field up with the static storm, and it dispelled, like, half the health of everybody on R2R, in addition to silencing them and making sure the Enigma couldn't get a good black hole off. Gyrocopter once again trying to find farm anywhere he can because there's just not a lot of time. They're so constricted in terms of vision, and LL are pounding down their front door. I think at this point we have to say that LL are at an enormous advantage. If they don't squander it, they're actually able to push.
Yep. We should petition for IceFrog to change it so that if there's a Caudal Blast across a black hole, it should get sucked in.
What? Oh, the horses get pulled into the... Yeah, right, that's true. Any light-based ability should get sucked in. That's a good point. I don't think they'll do that, but I like it. I don't think Caudal Blast is actually units. It might have been units in Dota 1. I don't really know that much about the deep Dota 1 mechanics cruft, because you had to implement things as other things, and it was just all very complicated to do the Warcraft 3 map editor. Gyrocopter manages to get away from Clinks there, and that's a crucial thing to not die. This Clinks is quite a bit on the way to his MKB. He's exactly halfway to his MKB, actually. So that's going to give me more damage.
Clinks MKB?
Yes. That's like core.
I think he's going to go for crit.
He's probably going to go for MKB. Crit's okay.
I think it's crit.
He could go for crit. I suspect he'll go for MKB first and crit after, but... That's true that crit is... Okay, call it crit, that's fine.
Then we'll see who was wrong and who was right.
Wow. No, I'm willing to be wrong about this. He might make crit. I do really think I'm still a booster for this. Oh, by the way, Viper is doing it. He's gonna go Aghanims. He has his point booster. That's why they picked the Viper. They picked him for the Aghanims Viper Strike on Clinks. Oh, and Lifestealer pops out. Another huge static storm. Lifestealer already dealing a ton of damage to this gyrocopter. They didn't get him in the black hole. The Lifestealer is completely rampaging. He's going to take the Viper as well. Great blink from Queen of Pain. And the ultimate landing on 2. That was an enormous Queen of Pain play.
Wow,
and their entire team just melts. They might take down the 5th. This might be an all-kill. Keeper of the Light pops in. Oh, he gets taken down by the Shadow Demon Poison Tick. And that's a total team wipe for R2R. They didn't get the black hole there. I mean, they got it up, but it didn't get the Lifestealer. And that just...
Well, even if it got it, Enigma died instantly, basically.
Right. Well, it lasted for about 2 seconds, but they just didn't get nearly enough people in the black hole, and that's an incredible fight for LL. They just completely demolished them. And this is a huge amount of damage coming out here. They're going to clear out this tower in no time flat. This Lifestealer is huge. He's got his Hyperstone. His Assault Cuirass is basically done. And they can Rax them before even these short respawn timers are completed. So LL taking a huge... Actually, we get a GG.
Wow.
Wow. They, I think they want to keep themselves fresh for the next couple games. This is a best-of-5 series. And
yeah, it's like a best-of-5. It makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, you would say it makes sense, because you love that early GG.
You're the economist, don't you? Haven't you heard of sunk costs?
I have heard of sunk costs, but I don't believe in them. I'm a saltwater economist. No, but
That's like the sniffing saltwater economist.
The bath salts water economist. That's actually good. We'll probably see that as an article title in the next snippy economist battle. We haven't had a good one of those in a few years. There was Krugman versus God, who was he really angry about?
Lucas?
Right after the financial crisis. What?
Radiant's bottom tower.
He was really angry at Lucas and the rest of the Chicago people.
Yes, the Krugman and Lucas had these incredibly passive-aggressive articles at each other that were pretty incredible.
Oh yeah, those are great.
Yeah, those were hilarious. At any rate, LL, short work, absolutely excellent work. And in team fights, they really had this key play, avoiding those black holes. I have to call out to the Disruptor again, because those disruptions, those static storms, were just exactly in the right spot each time. They managed to make the Clink solo lane work. They got him developed enough that by the end he was level 15 with the Orchid, with the Demon Edge. By the way, Miaris will never know who was right, because he never finished his next item, unfortunately.
That is true.
That's too bad.
Okay,
And,
so we got like a little time between games.
We'll see, but yeah, probably a little time. I'll IM
Okay,
you.
I'm gonna
Just
go
don't
make
miss
some
my
tea.
IM this time. Alright, bye. Alright guys, so we're gonna go on to game 2 in just a moment.
Sound resumed. Error. You
Vikrama,
removed.
because he
Just
just
did it.
unmuted himself. Thank you. I don't know if he wanted to be here.
Oh,
You also have to give him talk power. too.
Microphone muted. Microphone
Oh, yeah, I'm
activated.
sorry.
Talk
Oh,
power.
yeah, sorry.
I
I
can
forgot
do
to
that.
do that.
Hello.
So yeah, interesting game, IMO.
Wow, the farm game that Lucis Lunatics has on their mind is just amazing. All those stacked camps. Ow.
Yeah, that's Swedish style Dota, right? They had the 4-stack camp and they cleared it out with the Shadow Demon.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get to see the first like 10 or 15 minutes because we were having some stream problems. But
Oh, that's too
it
bad.
looked like that Disruptor really did a number on their team fight.
Yeah, I didn't think the Disruptor was going to be that effective, but that first big team fight that R2R really thought they were going to take, and the Disruptor just completely counters it with a huge static storm and kinetic field right there, just wins them the fight. But more importantly, that the jungle farming, like usually R2R,
User
they
left
take
your
these like
channel.
int mids or they take Viper and they just rush the mech, and usually that gives you this huge advantage just because you you can heal. But in this game, because Disruptor and Shadow Demon got the entire jungle worth of farm, the Disruptor got the mech at the same time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
like,
it's always a risk when you completely give up a lane like that because they just completely sacrificed their top lane and just didn't pay off this
Your
game.
channel.
yeah, definitely. I mean, the Lifestealer got huge, and it would have been okay if they dominated and were able to push the other lanes, but they lost that one big team fight and they sort of got scared. And then there were great pickoffs on the gyrocopter, like some of those ganks on the gyro, like both ganks on the gyro were just super inspired.
I honestly never seen like a Shadow Demon like stacking stuff like that, so that impressed the hell out of me. Like you're stacking 2 lanes at once, or like 2 camps.
Yeah. Like there was one of the camps was so stacked that creeps were spawning like inside trees, and they would get stuck.
Yeah, I noticed that. Also, Tezer, are you coming into this game? Did he go AFK quick?
No, I did not. I just had to argue with Roof.
Oh,
And I had to restart the client because it just broke a little bit.
Yeah, sorry to take this off topic for a second, but are you casting the next game as well?
Yeah, sure. I'm up for it.
Alright, great. Sorry, keep on going with whatever you were saying, Vikram. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no problem. I don't think I was saying anything of any consequence. What do you got? What do y'all think for this next game? Are R2R going to switch it up?
I think they need to. I think they need to go with some more lane dominance. The lineup they picked up last game was not really the same as what they've been winning games with. So I think they'll probably try to go for more team fight like they've been doing in the past.
Well, the thing is, Death Prophet is a little weaker against like something like Lifestealer Clinks, because if you silence her to start a fight, you get the Lifestealer on her. The fact that she's tanky is almost meaningless because she just dies. I think I really liked the idea of the Viper, but their Triline didn't really do quite as much work. They weren't able to get the Clinks denied enough, I feel like. The Viper idea was like, he was going to go Ags, which I think is brilliant, actually.
Short interruption. What's the password, please?
Playdate. Same as always.
Thank you.
I think the reason why they couldn't like harass the Clinks out of lane though is because they couldn't find where the Clinks put the ward that stopped their pull.
Yeah, that's true
so
too. It took them forever to get rid of that counter with that ward.
Yeah, they wasted like 2 centuries on it.
I actually disagree a little bit with that Viper pickup. Normally, I'm a big fan of Viper mid. I think he's an underrated hero in general. But against a Lifestealer, he's all about shutting down the enemy carry with his ultimate, because that ultimate cripples him, and it just does nothing to a Lifestealer once he does that rage.
It still slows. The slow still hits if he's raged though.
Yeah.
Oh, does it?
It doesn't damage, but it does slow.
BKB.
That was actually their direct. That was their idea of a Lifestealer counterpick. Is that Shadow Demon was already on the other team. Shadow Demon's really good against Lifestealer. And they didn't have anything else that goes through BKB, so they took the Viper slow because it works through BKB. And the reason they wanted Ags is it's 12-second cooldown, so they can hit the Clinks and the Lifestealer with it, but they just didn't get quite there.
Yeah, really, they just had a tough time mid-game.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't know, LL looking really strong. Am I right?
Definitely.
Yeah, Tez joined the slot. I think they GG too early in my opinion.
I think it's like it's a 5-game series. They don't want to. They don't want to switch it out. They want to just sort of not take any more psychological punishment from that game. Just sort of move on.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when they have to lose twice more to be out of the tournament, so they have plenty of time to recover. It's not like a best of one that we've seen so many of.
Yeah, Casper, I think you're right that they GG'd early. Like, they still had a shot, but I think they just want to be like, if we only have like a 20% shot, we'd rather just stay fresh for the next game.
Yeah, it's true. Alright, are you guys ready?
Yeah, I think we're ready to go into the next one.
Yeah.